Hello guys, Shout here. Today I'll be talking about the next two episodes of Amphibia, which are Sprig and Oliva Yunan. And the second one was really good, and I'm really sad, guys. If you don't know, Marcy was my favorite character. This is the first episode of the season that touches on her, and it's really well made. Let's just begin. So we start off with Sprig. I'm going to touch on this episode very lightly because there's not much in it, but what is pretty good. So it starts off with the whole family watching, well, besides his mom, a superhero / anime on TV about this bug superhero. It looks weird. Pretty much this is what you get. And what happens is after he defeats the blowfish, he gets accepted by everyone even though he's a monster. Sprig sees this and thinks it's awesome that people can be accepted. And I think this episode really ties into Sprig's kind of character. I wouldn't say flaw, but just character of wanting to be accepted. He wanted to be Anne's best friend, and then he wanted to be a part of Anne's family. Think about it. Hop Up and Polly didn't really care about becoming one of Anne's family, but Sprig really cared about it. So Sprig becomes an actually pretty cool looking superhero. And since I have a lot to unpack in Oliva Yunan, I'm just going to skip over this a bit, but this doesn't mean this episode is bad at all. This is definitely one of my top 3 of season 3, and it's really, really good. I really like it. Basically, Sprig meets the strict safety inspector who thinks he's the hero of the block, and they decide that no, Sprig is. And it's kind of a big reference to Spider-Man because he's like Spider Sprig, that's the name of the episode. And then when he saves a bus with his awesome tongue web, everyone thanks Sprig, which gives him kind of what he wanted. So the safety inspector becomes a lame Dr. Octopus. Basically just fights Sprig through the town. Eventually, they meet the same girl who they saved before. They realize they were jerks, so clean up the city, and the safety inspector's going to jail for all of this, of course, and he's fine with that. And Sprig is going to stop being a superhero. But he did get more accepted, which is good. That's the end of Spider Sprig. An episode that sets you up for the next one. So, in an episode I've been waiting for since Toad to Redemption, we're back in Amphibia, but this time for Marcy. So we fittingly start off with a flashback of when Marcy's first Amphibia, and Lady Olivia is basically telling her that this whole place, her mother had her take care of it, and Marcy's reaction is pretty much the same as hers, and she's really happy. It really likes Marcy. Marcy agrees to take care of this place and make sure it's great forever. And then we see what King Andreas is doing with the land, which is destroying it. All those robots now filling out the place and draining this place of its natural resources. Lady Olivia and General Yunan are both summoned by the king. When they peek inside, it looks like he's talking to himself, which makes him look like he's losing it, which comes back later. And that's what I really like. The king is actually up front. I'll give him this. After his manipulation, he's basically join me or die. And if you're with me, it's not like he's one of those people who's like, Yunan, so-and-so, do all this stuff, and then go do this for me. He still keeps their positions. He actually promotes both of them. But, of course, they don't really want the promotion. So now Lady Olivia will be overseeing all the construction, and Yunan will be getting frogs for basically handling all of it. And if they don't want to come, basically he's saying you can kill them. And of course, both of them are very angry because they don't want to do this stuff. And seeing him talk to himself earlier, they think he's gone crazy. And Olivia decides that they need Marcy because she's the only one smart enough to outsmart the king. Seeing as, again, this is brought up multiple times in this episode, she's the only person who beat King Andreas at Flipboard, which is basically their version of chess. She's the only one who could outsmart the king. When you get to Marcy's old room, which had that door down below, and travel to the basement, meeting the Moss Man actually along the way. And that's actually where Yunan gets her flower from, as a peace offering. Find Marcy and take her out. Apparently, that's what I was wondering. Is the night in the full bodysuit, or is it in a suit of armor and the knight's just a mask? Yep, it's a suit of armor, probably meant to keep Marcy alive. And then the knight actually will go on her face. So Marcy's actually a bit loopy, probably because she just woke up after being in a tank for however long. But right as they're standing there, the room starts to transform. So this room basically acts as those places where, characters confront their greatest fear. Livia's her mom being disappointed in her. And then this is what I find interesting. Earlier on, Marcy notices it's not real from the glitching at the top. In Amphibia fashion, Yunan's greatest fear are grub hogs. Nice reference. And like I said, Marcy's biggest fear is, her friends leaving her for good, which is interesting because even though she knows this is fake, she can't stop herself from crying and saying she's sorry. And yes, Marcy's redemption. I want it. I love this guy's favorite character. You just gotta love Marcy. Even though she did betray them, I don't hate it. Like, she wasn't betraying them to purposely get them trapped in there. She was betraying them so they could all have fun. So, I'll leave it alone, guys. They find the eyes on the wall were making this illusion, right? Illusion. Until they're ambushed by the king who stops them from running upstairs. And this is what I find really interesting. He has the eye in his crown. How did that happen? And then later, he refers to the knight, or whatever that is, as the core, and he says of the greatest minds. What? How? And now I have an idea, guys. I'm going to extend this in a further thing, but I feel like the knight is a technology. I mean, they make it so clear the themes of technology in this episode. Another thing that's funny. They're using Marcy as a host. Why? It's such cruel irony because Marcy beat him at Flipboard that one time. It ties into it being the greatest minds and it needing a host. And the funny thing is, that's the thing, King Andreas actually liked Marcy. And that's very understandable. Marcy was really nice to him, pretty much did everything for him. And he actually asked the knight to reconsider. And we see this earlier on when he was, quote-unquote, talking to himself. He was begging the thing to reconsider. Because apparently he was actually going to keep Marcy alive, which I find really interesting. What would he have done? Would he done like a Yunan and Olivia, join me or die, or would it have been just like, send her back home? Well, I don't know. And I would love to see what would have happened if the knight didn't want her as a host. So we get Night Marcy. Nobody in the world is happy. The world is terrible. No. Why? No. This teaches us all a big lesson, guys. Never beat somebody at chess or they may try and get your body possessed. So the episode ends, and definitely out of the season, I think this is a 10 out of 10 episode. I mean, the pacing felt great, in my opinion. The first episode was really nice, and of course, they pulled a classic Amphibia. Remember that beautiful outro I called one of my favorite, and if I didn't, it is probably my favorite of the three. Well, guess what? We get this black screen with just words. No, we don't get any lighthearted fun. No, we just get black screen with words. No, I knew they were going to do this. Everyone knew they were going to pull this, and it finally happened. And I don't know the next time they'll touch on Marcy and or Night Marcy, so I am worried. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, and have a nice day.